If you were hoping for some clarity on the Leafs offseason plans, well, we kind of just got some. Sort of. Brad Treliving, the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, spoke ahead of the draft and had some things to say about some upcoming free agents. And let's start with Mitch Marner, who we all believe, at least I do, that he's as good as gone. But Brad Treliving can't say that. But he did say this.
Unless there's, a significant change here, I would anticipate that he's going to hit the market, and we'll see where things go.
Now, this is basically the NHL's worst kept secret. We know Mitch Marner is probably gone and he's going to hit the market, and it sounds like he's going to Vegas because that's the team that keeps popping up. Now, how's Vegas going to do that? They got some cap issues of themselves. We've seen reports of Tomas Hertl kind of being in the news as a potential sign-in trade. If Marner decides to go to Vegas and he wants that 8th year, he needs Toronto to sign him and then trade him over to Vegas. So we'll have to wait and see. But this is Brad Treliving basically saying, listen, Mitch Marner's gone. He's not coming back. I just can't say that. But he's not officially gone. There's still a chance that maybe he comes back to Toronto, they negotiate, maybe it's a shorter term deal, and they give him all the money in the world. I think that's unlikely. But Marner is as good as gone from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Treliving also spoke on John Tavares, who is an upcoming free agent, and he said, we both expressed a shared outcome.
Which is John wants to stay, and we want to keep John.
So I anticipate if he is staying, he probably gets the deal done before July 1st, so he doesn't have a chance to hit the market. But I got a couple questions here. What's the price? What's the term? And where's he going to play next season if he plays for the Leafs? Is he coming back as a second-line center? Or is he a third-line guy? Is he still in the top power play? Because all these things matter when you're trying to figure out how much to pay this guy. He's 34 years old, going to turn 35 in September. Yes, he's coming off a really good season where he scored near 40 goals. And I don't know if he's going to hit that mark next year and a couple seasons beyond, but he's going to be in and around the 30 goal mark. How much is that worth? And if he's playing second line center, do you have to pay him second line center money? And if he's playing on the top power play unit, do you have to pay him top power play money? If I'm John Tavares and I know that I'm coming back as a 2C and I'm going to be on the number 1 power play and I'm the agent, I'm like, well, listen, I scored damn near 40 goals. You're going to play me on the top power play unit on a team that wants to win the Stanley Cup and I'm your second line center. You got to pay me like it. But if you're the Leafs, you have to say no. You got to start winning at the negotiating table. You don't win on the ice, and you haven't won at the negotiating table in years. Marner got exactly what he wanted early on with that ridiculous contract. William Nylander went to Sweden, said, screw you, pay me, got paid twice. Matthews, same deal. Tavares is a bit different. When they signed him, he was the big prize free agent, one that you haven't seen in a very long time. He was one of the best players in the NHL at the time. Toronto guy, came home, put the C on him, so I understand why they gave him that money. But I've mentioned this before. This core, as of right now, their legacy, to me, is that they're really good regular season players, but they win more at the negotiating table and play harder at the negotiating table than they do on the ice. And that's just factual because they've won 2 playoff rounds. And if you're the Leafs, you look at John Tavares and say, dude, I know you want this money. I know we're bringing you back to, play some big minutes, most likely, because they don't have a second line center unless they trade for one. But it's like, we paid you $80 million so far, and what we got in return was 2 playoff round wins. Come on, right? If you want to stay here, this is where you want to play. There's got to be some sort of discount here. And listen, if I'm the player, I want to get as much money as I possibly can. But the Leafs have to start winning at the negotiating table. They have to. They got to win some of these contract battles. They can't keep losing it. I think it's, hey, dude, we're going to pay you 3 years at $4 million or $5 million per, and that's the offer. If you don't like it, see you later. You can't be afraid to lose these players, and you can't be dishing out ridiculous contracts. This needs to change. If you want to change the culture, change the DNA, Brad Treliving, like you said, dude, this DNA thing, I'm sick and tired of hearing that. But if you want to change it, it starts with these contracts. So there you go. And now, how much is he worth? I think I look at Matt Duchene, same age, same draft class, I believe. 4 years, $18 million. That's right in around John Tavares. Maybe there's a bit of a premium because he's playing in Toronto and he's playing in Canada and the taxes, yada, yada, yada. But I think that's probably the deal you look at and you're like, well, both are on the top power play. Both are 30-plus goal scorers. Both are the same age. Both are playing in the top 6. So I go to Tavares' agent. I say, this is what we're going to give him. Take it or leave it. But the agent might say back to Tree Living, hey, listen, my guy scored more goals, and this is a crazy stat, scored more goals last season, 38, than any other player heading toward unrestricted free agency. Dude, I didn't know that. That's unbelievable. I'm not saying John Tavares is a bad player, but to outscore every free agent at 34 years old, have a great season, got to give the guy his props. So we'll see what happens there. Matthew Knies, he's coming up as an RFA. This is what Tree Living had to say.
Lots of communication, not the same deadline necessarily, but it goes without saying Matthew's going to make more than what he's making now in his next contract. And you also want to protect yourself moving into the summer. Past July 1, we all know we want to make sure we're protected. I don't anticipate, I'm sure the next question is going to be an offer sheet. That's not anything you can operate in fear with, but you have to do proper business.
Power forwards who can score are almost non-existent in the NHL right now, and the Maple Leafs have one. So you got to keep them. But it doesn't mean you have to overpay. This is similar to the Tavares thing. Don't just give him whatever he wants. Don't give him 7 years at $10 million a year because you don't want to lose him. And you believe that, in his potential, which, I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but you don't know. He's had one really good season. He's been pretty good in the playoffs as well, so you got to keep that in mind. But, don't overpay. Do not overpay, but make sure you pay him, properly. And in a cap world, every dollar counts. Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast said, with Wyatt Johnson's 5 times $8.4 million and JJ Peterka's 5 times $7.7 million, Knies' extension should come in somewhere around there. That makes sense. All those players are around the same age. Peterka's a center, a bit different than Wyatt Johnson and Matthew Knies, but offensively, similar the past season, near 30 goals, over 30 goals for Wyatt Johnson, both top 6 forwards, both on the top power play. So I like that. And again, maybe the Leafs have to pay a premium because they're the Leafs and they're in a Canadian market, but we'll have to wait and see. And in terms of an offer sheet, I was thinking about this. The Leafs shouldn't be afraid of Matthew Knies getting an offer sheet. Outside of, you don't want to overpay, and you might have to if you have to match an offer sheet. But with the cap going up, to $95.5 million, and it'll jump to 113 by 27-28, the Leafs are going to have room to pay that. Now you're getting Mitch Marner on the books, most likely. So that's 10.9 off the books. You're not going to pay John Tavares $10 million anymore. So that's $10 million off the books. Maybe he gets half of that, $5 million. And you got to pay Matthew Knies, $5 to $6 million, $7 million, which kicks in next season. And then you're looking at a defenseman, which I'll get to. So an offer sheet they shouldn't be worried about. They'll be able to take care of that. It's just that you don't want to overpay. And they might have to if they don't act quickly. Okay, moving forward. That was it from Brad Tree Living in terms of the free agents. But there's some news or some rumors circulating, because obviously it's that time of year, that Aaron Ekblad might be interested in coming to Toronto. Frank Saravalli of Daily Faceoff mentioned that Ekblad could sign with many different teams, but specifically singled out the Leafs and Blue Jackets. Now, listen, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, you already have a really good D-core. You could see what Brad Tree Living and Craig Berube are trying to do with this team, right? Big, tough, can have some puck movers in the back. They don't have that right now, but they want that. Aaron Ekblad checks all those boxes. 2 cups, plays on the right side, can quarterback a power play, can move the puck. He's mean. He's nasty. Plays on the edge. I don't know how that's going to play in Toronto with all the coverage that they get. This whole PED thing, too, kind of scares me if I'm the Leafs. But still, if you can bring him in, you got to find a way to fit him in. But if you can bring him in, give him like a 5 or 6 year deal at, I don't know, 8.5, 9 million. Even that seems kind of rich. But you're getting a really good defenseman and the cap's going up. Now your top 4, let's say you move on from Morgan Riley. Okay? Your top 4 is McCabe, Tanev, Brandon Carlo, Aaron Ekblad. Not bad. And if you move on from Brandon Carlo, which I hope they don't do, and I'm going to get to that, then it's McCabe, Tanev, Ekblad, Morgan Riley. That's a pretty legit top 4. Not many teams can look at that and say, well, our top 4 is better. I don't think so. So I think someone that they should really look at is Ekblad. If they can make that happen, you don't want to overpay. But if you're looking at the next 3 years, which is what's left in Austin Matthews' contract, those 3 years, that's probably your window to go and win a Stanley Cup. So you got to do what you got to do. If you got to overpay a bit, you got to overpay a bit. But don't, for a lack of a better term, don't blow your load on one player. Just don't do that. back to Brandon Carlo. So this came out a couple days ago that he might be on the trade block. And I'm like, why? Why would Brandon Carlo be on the trade block? He's 28 years old. He has 2 years left at 3.4 and change. He's a legit top 4 guy. He's 6'5", right shot D-man who plays in almost every situation except the power play. Played big time minutes in the playoffs. Played big time minutes on the penalty kill in the playoffs. Unless you're packaging him with another player to bring in an Aaron Ekblad, or you're trading him for some offense, because the Leafs are going to need offense. You're going to have to replace Mitch Marner's production. You can't replace it completely. It's hard to do that. You can't. There's no guy you can bring in who's going to play in every single situation and rack up 100 points for you and make like one of the best playmakers in the NHL. It's impossible to find. But you can find a couple of players to make up for it. And maybe that's where you package Brandon Carlo. But if I'm the Leafs, this is a guy I don't want to let go. In a cap world, in a hard cap world where every dollar counts, you have a guy in his prime making 3.4 for the next 2 years. And I should mention, he also has an 8-team no trade, so he can't be tossed out to 31 different teams. He's going to have a say on that. And if there's a team that they want to trade him to, he might just say, like, screw you, I'm not going anywhere. The guy who should be moved, that'll be tough to move, is Morgan Riley. He's making 7.5 for the next, I don't even know, 5-6 years. But I think it's time for him to go. If you can convince him, hey, listen, Morgan Riley, thank you for your service. You've been a great player. You've been one of the only guys out of this core to step up in the playoffs when it mattered. So you got to give him his kudos. But maybe it's time to move on from him. And maybe you trade him to Vancouver, where he's from, and you put him together in a package and you bring over some offense. You're going to need a second-line center. You're going to need a right winger to play with Austin Matthews, right? Because that's Mitch Marner's spot. It's been that spot for about 10 years, it feels like. So you got Matthew Knies, Austin Matthews. You need a right winger. You need a second or third line center. You need some more offense in the bottom 6. You probably need another winger on the second line. You got to figure out what you got to do with, Max Pacioretty. Are you going to keep guys like Max Domi and David Kampf and Calle Yarncroke and Steven Lorenz? So there's a lot to do for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you can open up a ton of cap space by flipping Morgan Riley for something. You just got to convince him to do it, because just like most of the players in the NHL, he has a full no move. So there's going to be some convincing you need to do. But Morgan Riley out the door, you bring in Ekblad, you find some pieces up top, and the Toronto Maple Leafs will be looking like a pretty good team heading into next season. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about what the Leafs are doing? Give me your thoughts on Mitch Marner leaving. How do they replace him? Should they bring in a guy like Aaron Ekblad? And should Brandon Carlo be on the trade block? Because I don't think he should, unless the package coming back blows him out of the water. You can't find a big right shot D-man who's incredible defensively, has an incredible stick, can make a good first pass, has some toughness to him. He fought a UFC fighter's brother, and Carlo's not really a fighter. He got lit up in that fight against, I think, Malott. I can't remember his first name, in LA. But you can't find players like that for that price. So I think they got to keep him. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think the Leafs should do?